What it do? So, my mom asked me just today. She said, have you found a school that you like? I've been watching your videos. And I was like, I found a school that I like. I was like, I like all the places that I have gone to sub. And I'm like, and then I thought about it. Could my videos be communicating that I don't like the places that I sub? And I forget. I have so many different stories and things in my mind that I want to share. But also with me having narcolepsy and how much it takes out of me, it's just not possible. Which is part of the reason, actually, years ago that I started doing the vlog, and I probably mentioned this before, more so on narcolepsy this way, right? Like I started video logging it, writing it down. My handwriting's messy, couldn't go really read it, and I had so many things, so many stories. So the videos just made sense to me. Anyway, so I really like the kids because the kids are, I won't say the same everywhere. Because the reality is different demographics produce different results. And, you know, we can go toe to toe on that. We can not like how that feels in our body, in our minds. But the reality is what it is. And so that is something that, again, I just, every time I'm like, okay, this video was supposed to be more so about a few stories from the last few schools that I had. But I want to say this now. So, talking to my friend last night, and she is a bonus mom. She's married to her husband who already had 2 sons. And, you know, when you love somebody, when you care about somebody, and it's not just in marriage, in different types of relationships, you learn, hopefully, you learn about their lives, and that compassion hit different, that consideration and grace hits different when you love someone. And so my brother, you know, just brothers that I have that are in different situations, but she was mentioning some things to me that I did not know. Okay. When it comes to custody, children, all those different things, okay? One, how the laws, and my friend is a doctor, and I'll tell you why that part comes in a little later. But so she was doing research as she's merging her life with the love of her life that has children, custody, all of those different things that you step into in that particular experience. And she was just saying, did you know that back in the day in research, like they just felt like that children are just better off with their mothers. That's why they would grant mothers custody. And I was like, well, you know, I'm thinking, okay, mind you, I'm like, who are making the laws? The men. So I'm like, okay. And then she was like, well, and they did not think that it was that impactful or influential to have the fathers in the child's lives. And to that, I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I just couldn't wrap my mind around that. Not only as someone who did not grow up with my father, but again, I'm thinking these men who were the main powers in the lawmaking processes, I am sure that they were fathers, many of them. And so I was thinking, why would they bite their own hand off? Like, why would they do that? Like, I just couldn't logically in my mind. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And she was like, I'm just saying that just recently they started doing more research to see that no, like a man being in his child's life is important. And again, I said, what? How is that new information? Again, if it was all women making these laws and being the judge and all the things, I could see that a little differently. Because I'm just like, oh, okay, I can see women having those different experiences and thoughts based off what they've seen and heard and whatever. But I was just like, I don't see that making any sense at all, to say that a father was not necessary to be in a child's life. Now, I can see them saying that, during the earlier years, how impactful it is for mothering. One, because the aspect of they can eat food from our bodies, children, if you choose to do that. But just so there are some things that I'm like, okay, I can see that to some degree, right? Because if you're waking up in the middle of the night feeding them from your breast, I'm not trying to get up and drive over to their father's house to do that. So like there are some things I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But then as we talked more about it, and she mentions South Carolina, a registry, and this is just straight off of us talking like literally late into the wee hours of the morning. So this is not me doing research. I'm just sharing our conversation. But there's a registry in South Carolina and probably some more states where a man can register to say he's the father of whatever children. Because then she blew my mind by saying basically that a woman can give birth to a child and give that child up for adoption and not tell the father. And it be legal. Because mind you, I know that can happen. But that it be legal. And then she spoke of men who were fighting for custody of their own children. And I have plenty of friends, number one, who are in the legal field, two, who are social workers and in that field. And I am like, it's very common for them to speak about the next of kin, right? The closest person who has kinship to the child to give custody to. So again, that doesn't make sense if this person is the father and they can prove it, right? So then I was saying, okay, well, maybe, because there's plenty of cases of situations where the man didn't know he was a father. I brought up some of the ones that are more popular that we know. I'm not going to talk about them. But people that we know, like, oh, I didn't know who my father was. Or, oh, my father didn't know that my mom had me. Okay. I said, but when a man's name is on a birth certificate, I said, that's different, right? Like, you're not saying those men. And she was like, no, what I'm telling you is legally a woman could put their child up for adoption without telling the father of their child, even if the man's name was on the birth certificate, this legal document that we use to identify ourselves. government. I was like, wait a minute. Again, I don't have a PhD in anything, or even a master's. Okay, but my math skills are not even excellent. But that just wasn't making any sense. And she was like, well, I agree with you. I'm just telling you the things that I've learned in the process that of being a bonus mom and talking through these different things. So I'm like, the father's name could be on a birth certificate. The mom can give the child away. And then the man will still have to fight families or courts for his child, whom he's already shown evidence by having his name on the birth certificate. Sometimes the child even having his last name. And he still has what is he fighting for again? The rights to his own child. How? And again, this is off of the conversation. There's so many things that I know that I don't know. And I am going to look it up. But I'm sharing this because the conversation just was recent and it was on my mind. I was just like, make it make sense? Because it doesn't to me. But then as we continued to talk, I said, you know what? Wait a minute. If those same lawmaker men, if we think about the men who have the second and third families, the woman across the road or the tracks, okay, those situations which happen more often than we would want to know. I said, well, hot diggity dog. It actually works in their favor. These lawmaker men who, when you think it's for a specific reason, you don't really know all the subcontext, right? So I'm like, oh no, that actually works out for them because, some of these men fathering all these kids. Because that's when we start talking about men being put in jail for child support. A lot of, especially in the Black community, contrary to what I hear on the internet, a lot of Black women do not put these men on legal child support. And they do whatever the different things that they work out for them. And then they end up doing it because of circumstance or maybe, communication not being there, or maybe feeling slighted or neglected, or the child being that. So, anyway, that was in my mind. I just wanted to get it out because, I just was like, wow. And she was talking about the, like paternal rights and just, men having to fight for those things. But then, of course, if you don't have the money, and just all of that. And again, that grieved me. And it, reminded me of other things that men that I know of from a friend or their spouse or whatever. Just a lot of mental health things, different struggles. And just reminded me. And I actually put a post on Threads about just we need to pray for our men, and our boys, and pray even for wisdom for how to encourage them, to affirm them, to speak life into them, just like we would want that to be done to us. Like, right, the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And just the fact that they are supposed to be heads of households and leaders and all these different things, and that's not going to stop. And so in that, pray for them. Pray for them, and also seek that they have fair treatment in those ways as well. Like, there are plenty of ways that women don't have fair treatment, and I know women are fighting for that, and there are plenty of women that once they realize that and know that in many countries around the world. So that is not at all invalidated by also seeing, oh wait, there's needs over here as well. And those who have that desire, conviction, the information could be new to, you may want to look into it. Start advocating for men in that way, walking with them in that way. Yeah, so anyway, those are my thoughts on that. And I'm doing another video on the schools and the teaching.